Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaya Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dhiri Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So I'm not sure, but I'm guessing it's a text 25 today that we have to start. So we're going to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy, text number 25 onwards. So asavad bhakaruno bhagwan vivriddha premasmite nayanam buruham vijramban utthaya vishwa vijaya chano vishadam madhvaya gira panyatat purusha purana. The Lord, who is supreme and who is the oldest of all, is unlimitedly merciful. I wish that he may smilingly bestow his benediction upon me by opening his lotus eyes. He can uplift the entire cosmic creation and remove our dejection by kindly speaking his directions. The Lord is ever increasingly merciful upon the fallen souls of this material world. The whole cosmic manifestation is a chance for all to improve themselves in devotional service to the Lord, and everyone is meant for that purpose. The Lord expands himself into many personalities who are either self-expansions or separated expansions. The personalities of the individual souls are his separated expansions, whereas the self-expansions are the Lord himself. The self-expansions are predominators, and the separated expansions are predominated for reciprocation of transcendental bliss with the supreme form of bliss and knowledge. The liberated souls can join in this blissful reciprocation of predominator and predominated without materially concocted ideas. The typical example of such a transcendental exchange between the predominator and the predominated is the Lord's Ras Leela with the gopis. So before going too much further, so predominator and predominated. So there are two expansions of Krishna, Swansha and Vibhinansha. Swansha means self expansions, and Vibhinansha are separated expansions. So Swansha are his incarnations, his expansions, and Vibhinansha are the Jivatmas. So Swansha are the predominators. They are the ones who control. And Vibhinansha are predominated. So we are controlled, either controlled by his spiritual energy or by his material energy. So we, as predominated ones, as the conditioned souls, are now there are again in the living entities also there are categories, Nitya Baddha and Nitya Mukta. Nitya Mukta are eternally liberated and Nitya Baddhas are eternally bound. So somebody asked me this question recently, not from this class, but I'm trying to explain this for the benefit here. So eternally liberated and eternally bound or eternally conditioned. So we are in the material world, conditioned souls. They are called eternally bound. Now, this eternal word means what? It's always remains the same in that way. But in the material world, this eternal word is also relative. It's not absolute. I'll explain then why. In the spiritual world, when somebody is eternally liberated, he or she, whatever the soul is, eternally liberated means he was never bound and he will never be bound. But that eternally liberated soul, out of his independence, now there is, if he can never be bound, then there is no question of his independence. But he is independent also at the same time. So out of his independence, out of his will, he falls down in the material world. So when in the material world he falls down, and then we have studied the universe, the duration of one given universe is one breath of Mahavishnu. Now that one breath of Mahavishnu is equivalent to earthly years as 311 trillion 40 billion years. Earthly years. Brahmaji's years are 100. But according to the living beings living on earth, it's 311 trillion 40 billion years. And for the living entities living below earth, the subterranean planets, this duration is even longer. Now, if somebody falls down in the material world and he lives here, suppose, I mean, this is just hypothetical calculation. Suppose he lives for 311 trillion 40 billion years. And then he gets a chance and he goes back to the spiritual world. So this 311 trillion 40 billion years isn't it as good as eternal? Literally, it's such a long time, it will feel like eternity. Even somebody is living for 100,000 years, that would feel like eternity. But what to speak of 311 trillion 40 billion years? So that is, because material world, everything is relative. So that is, relatively speaking, it is eternal. It's not the eternal as mentioned in the spiritual world. Now, after this, spending his life cycle here of 311 trillion 40 billion years, going through millions and millions of life forms, 8,400,000 species, when he goes back, when that living entity goes back to the spiritual world where he fell down from, now, according to Lord Mahavishnu's calculation, he was just here for one breath of Mahavishnu. And in fact, if we calculate even further, go further up, in Golok Vrindavan, one blink of eye of Krishna or of his associates is when many breaths of Mahavishnu takes place. So one blink of eye, maybe the jiva was missing from that association for one blink of eye. So it will still be considered as Nitya Mukta, because he was just away for one blink of an eye. For some reason, he wanted to test his independence, and he did. But when he was here for that one breath of Mahavishnu, which is not even one blink of eye, that lifetime here is also considered as eternal. So both the words are equally applicable. Eternally liberated and eternally bound or eternally conditioned. So people get into really the literal meaning of eternally means that's it. No change whatsoever. But the independence is also there. How do we explain that? And the time duration that the person would be away from Krishna, maybe a few blinks of eye of Krishna. That's nothing. So we have to understand this way. The transcendental example of, the typical example of such a transcendental exchange between the predominator and the predominated is the Lord's Ras Leela with the gopis. The gopis are predominated expansions of the internal potency. And therefore, the Lord's participation in the Ras Leela dance is never to be considered like the mundane relationship of man and woman. So here, Prabhupada is explaining, gopis are predominated expansions of the internal potency, not the marginal potency. We are the marginal potency. Gopis they come under the internal potency, or specifically of Srimati Radharani. It's a huge difference. And so that relationship is never to be considered like these days of teenage boy and girls. It's rather the highest perfectional stage of the exchange of feelings between the Lord and the living entities. The Lord gives the fallen souls a chance for this highest perfection of life. Lord Brahma is entrusted with the management of the complete cosmic show, and therefore he prays that the Lord bestow his blessings upon him so that he may execute its purpose. So Brahma ji is basically again and again, this is what the whole chapter is, Brahma's prayers for creative energy. He's praying to the Lord to give him his mercy and to give the knowledge, the expertise required to do the creation. Text 26. Maitreya vacha swasambhavam nishamyavam tapovidya samadhi yavan manovacha hastatva viraram sakhinnavat. The sage Maitreya said, O Vidura, after observing the source of his appearance, namely the personality of Godhead, Brahma prayed for his mercy as far as his mind and words would permit him. Thus, having prayed, he became silent as if tired from his activities of penance, knowledge, and mental concentration. So the original, now we have to understand, this is a conversation going on between Maitreya and Vidura. And Vidura had asked many questions in the 8th chapter. So, 9th chapter, Maitreya Muni started with the Brahma's prayers. And now he is saying, having prayed, he became silent as if tired from his activities of penance, knowledge, and mental concentration. Brahma's enlightenment and knowledge was due to the Lord sitting within his heart. After being created, Brahma could not ascertain the source of his appearance. But after penance and mental concentration, he could see the source of his birth. And thus he became enlightened through his heart. The spiritual master outside and the spiritual master within are both representations of the Lord. Unless one has contact with such bona fide representations, one cannot claim to be a spiritual master. Unless one has contact with such bona fide representations, both within and without. So within as Paramatma and without as his spiritual master, one cannot claim to be a spiritual master. It's not a matter of academic knowledge, and it's not a matter of charismatic personality, speech, or some other way. If some people can gather a huge crowd, spiritual master is not of such quality. He has to be in contact or in relationship with the Paramatma within the spiritual master within, and the spiritual master without, means he has to come in a disciplic succession. And besides that, many other qualities, but these are basic ones. Lord Brahma had no opportunity to take the help of his spiritual master from outside, because at that time Brahma himself was the only creature in the universe. Therefore, on becoming satisfied by the prayers of Brahma, the Lord enlightened him about everything from within. That is the mercy of the Lord. अथाभिप्रेत्म अन्वीक्ष्य ब्रह्मणो मधुसूदनः विषण्ण चेतसं तेन कल्पव्यतिकरम्भस लोक संस्थान विज्ञान आत्मना परिखिद्यतः तमाह गाध्या वाचा kashmalam shamayan iva. The Lord saw that Brahma was very anxious about the planning and construction of the different planetary systems and was depressed upon seeing the devastating water. He could understand the intention of Brahma, and thus he spoke in deep, thoughtful words, removing all the illusion that had arisen. So Brahmaji was the first civil engineer of the universe and the architect. Planning and construction, both he had to take care of. The devastating water was so fearful that even Brahma was perturbed at its appearance and became very anxious about how to situate the different planetary systems in outer space to accommodate the different kinds of living entities, such as the human beings, those lower than the human beings, and the superhuman beings. So devastating water, as we read earlier, how there were violent waves in the Garbhodak Sagar, and Lord Vishnu was still peacefully lying on the bed of Ananshesha. The bed of Ananshesha was floating, and the Lord was in his Yog Nidra, and beautifully explained about all his body parts, about his jewels. But that is the Supreme Lord. He can do anything. And now Brahmaji is anxious about his service. How am I going to do my service in this situation? And here Prabhupada says how to situate the different planetary systems in outer space to accommodate the different kinds of living entities, such as human beings, those lower than the human beings, and the superhuman beings. Means every single planet in the universe is populated by different living beings. There is no such thing as there is no life on Moon or no life on Mars or other planets. Only Earth, being the special one, has a life on it. No. Otherwise, what is the need of creation of other planets? So the life is there. Just because we cannot find it, we don't see it, we are looking at the different kind of symptoms, that if we find water, then there would be life, or if there was eyes, then there must have been life. This is a wrong prerequisite, wrong way to start with. We are thinking because life on Earth requires water and whatever methane or whatever things they're looking for, the same thing should be there. But the life form is different on other planets. So basic equations is what we have to change. Then we'll find life on other planets. All the planets in the universe are situated according to the different grades of living entities under the influence of the modes of material nature. There are 3 modes of material nature, and when they're mixed with one another, they become 9. When the 9 are mixed, they become 81. And the 81 also become mixed, and thus we ultimately do not know how the delusion increases and increases. So now this sentence, there are 3 modes of material nature, and when they are mixed with one another, they become 9. So actually what happens in these 3 modes of nature, goodness, passion, ignorance. Now in goodness, there are different varieties. So let's say it's called high, medium, low. And similarly in passion, high, medium, low, ignorance, high, medium, low. So when they mix together, so it becomes 81. 9. 3 times 3 is 9. And again, there are gradations of high, then there'll be another gradation of high, medium, low, and high, like different shades of color, you can say. So when they all mix together, they become 81. And by this 81, it starts the production of 8,400,000 species of life. So this 81 is basically the mixture of three modes of material nature. different shades or different grades of these three modes. So this makes this such a complex web, a world wide web, www, and that's what is creating and creating the life form all over the world. Not the life form, creating the bodies, different species, and the soul. When he gets into one particular form in one species, then he is stuck there because the web is so strong. Although we cannot see the three modes, that's why we think we are independent. In this material world, we think, oh, I'm independent, I'm free to do whatever I want. No. Prakrite kriye manani gunahe karmani sarvasha. So, three modes of nature, they make us do things. Of course, the only independence we have is the desire. We desire, Paramatma sanctions, three modes of nature take over, and then we are bound in the three modes of nature, and then we do activities which are again bound in three modes of nature, and then we get more and more bound in this web of the three modes, or we can call it as a matrix. This is the whole matrix, and we are just so much of stuck inside the matrix. We think we can do whatever we want, but we are helpless actually. Lord Brahma had to accommodate different places and situations for the requisite bodies of the conditioned souls. The task was meant only for Brahma, and no one in the universe can even understand how difficult it was. But by the grace of the Lord, Brahma was able to execute the tremendous task so perfectly that everyone is amazed to see the workmanship of the Vidhata, or the regulator. Because Brahmaji was given this knowledge, this expertise by Krishna himself to perform, to carry out these duties of creating the whole planetary system, 14 planetary systems with different planets and with different life forms on every planet. It's amazing. Even just see the life and the different life forms and different species and the different living entities in one species. And they all are running around crazily under the complete influence of the modes, material modes of nature. And this is how Brahmaji has created. And it's so amazing, this whole creation. Just look at one planet, forget about one planet. We cannot even go around the whole planet. Just look at one city, Delhi. Even in Delhi, just look at one particular locality, like Lajpat Nagar or any other place, Dilshad Garden, Ghaziabad, Noida. You'll be surprised to see how the whole creation works, how everybody is created. And in fact, if we just look at the faces of only the human beings in one particular area, suppose Noida, just the faces of human beings. We are not even talking about animals or birds or insects or fishes or plants or anything else. Every human being, his face is different. The rest of the body is same. 2 hands, 2 legs, whatever, stomach and chest and the back and whatever. But look at the face. Everybody's face is different. And on the face, how many organs or how many elements are there? But still, in these elements, he has created so much of variety. Amazing, amazing. And this only Brahmaji could do that, and that too by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Without that, nothing was possible. And nothing can be possible. If we look at any kind of manufacturer, suppose car is still a big item. Suppose very small thing, how much of a variety that manufacturer can put in that? Not a whole lot. Because then it won't be economical. If suppose he's making nut and bolt and every nut and bolt is different, it won't be economical. And if every car is different, it won't be economical. And it's not possible either. We cannot make that many molds. But Brahmaji, he creates all these things and puts so much of variety. And on top of it, if you look at, we don't even see any difference, but the machines can. Now there is we used to have this thumb impressions because every single person's thumb impression will be different. And now they are into eye scan, retina scan to identify a person. So retina is also different for every single person. Can't believe it. How many things are there in the retina of an eye? Not too many, according to us, actually. But the scientists or the investigators have found out everybody's retina is different. So they just scan it. Everybody's dental impressions are also different. That's also one way of recognizing a person. That can only happen by higher intelligence. And if somebody says nobody made this universe and everything came about after a big bang, then he is the stupid number one. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, so we can stop here. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.